This is the Marketing Agency Power Hour, and I'm your host, Cal Wilder. Each week, we'll power through discussions on business challenges, success stories, and game-changing strategies. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, provider of bookkeeping and accounting for marketing agencies. Let's get started. Merry Christmas, everyone. And if you celebrate another holiday this winter season, I hope you can truly cherish that experience as well. I started this podcast 8 months ago with the goal of getting more deeply engaged in the marketing agency owner community. My day job is running SmartBooks, where we provide bookkeeping, accounting, tax, and CFO services. And we just love working with agencies. And when I say agency, I mean kind of any business related to advertising, marketing, PR, marketing technology, really anything related to marketing, even if it's not a traditional agency. Because I believe in order to do a great job supporting these businesses as clients, I need to be sure I understand what's going on in your industry, your challenges, your successes, changes in the industry, your priorities as agency owners, so that I can make sure SmartBooks has a great solution to address and solve for those issues. Thankfully, when I launched this podcast, I hooked up with Ringmaster, Casey Cheshire, shout out there, along with Becca and Gabby and Christina. They make it really easy for me. I highly recommend Ringmaster if you're thinking about starting a podcast or you want to make your existing podcast run better and easier for you. I have a second podcast called Empowering Healthy Business that's been a little bit neglected since launching the Marketing Agency Power Hour. That one is a little more content focused on financial management and a broad range of topics related to running small and mid-sized businesses. So check it out too if you're interested at empoweringhealthybusiness.com. It's got a slower production schedule and it's internally produced and certainly doesn't look as polished as the Power Hour, but the content is pretty solid. It's hard to believe it's been 8 months here at the Power Hour. I mean, I think time flies when you're having fun and talking to very interesting people. I remember when I first started this, Casey and Ringmaster had me record this over-the-top introduction. I think we called it WWE style. So if I sound a little bit crazy in the intro, that is a little bit by design. But seriously, though, have had a series of really great conversations every week with such a broad range of agency owners. I really learn something every episode, and I'm thankful for that. I'm a finance guy by profession, not a marketing guy. So it's an interesting flip of the switch in my brain when I start speaking with you creative types. The one big thing we all have in common is we're trying to run healthy businesses, though. I'll highlight just a handful of episodes. All the episodes and conversations were good. Please don't take offense if I don't happen to mention your episode. Just thought back on a few episodes here that had really interesting content folks might want to check out. One of the earlier episodes was with Aaron and Johanna at Dove Collaborative, which is a purpose-driven. They're very purpose-driven. They're very intentional about work-life balance. They let their team members work around 30-hour work weeks. They work a lot with nonprofit organizations who are trying to make the world a better place. And they're doing great things for clients. And they've been a long-time client at SmartBooks, and I can vouch they really do live what they say on that episode. Another longtime client of SmartBooks was Jared Novak at Upstatement. While some agency owners avoid finance like the plague, he really leans into it and uses data, finance and detailed operational data to drive success in their business at Upstatement. Had another interesting conversation with James Kwan at Figments, where at his internal agency, he developed a slices methodology to help financially manage the agency. It's similar to Profit First. And so as a finance and accounting guy, I, of course, loved that part of the discussion. One topic that's come up in almost every episode is AI, definitely a recurring theme. One of the early episode number 1, I think, with Dave Reski at NowSpeed, he made a great point. Yeah, we're all trying to grapple and figure out how to use AI, but we can't let it replace our expertise as firm owners and business owners. And that was a good discussion, I thought. And then we had Evan Zoll at Longview Strategies, who also was, talking about they're more in the communication space. So we talked about navigating core values and communication and how to, the key is being authentic over the long term. And then We spoke about HR management and people management in the episodes with Joel Kaplan at MK3 and with Cam Brown at Kingfish. As business owners, we sometimes tend to avoid HR and people management too. And Joel and Cam really lean into that and have built that into a major strength at their firms. Um, just a couple others I'm recalling here. Elizabeth Schaub at the High Touch Group. She's really designed her firm around the life that she wants to live and her ability to travel and live in all these different countries. We recorded that episode in Mexico, where she's living now, and she's just very focused on the kinds of clients that she works with. I spoke with Judah Engelmeyer at Herald PR about crisis management and managing the court of public opinion. So that episode reminded us that everybody deserves a defense attorney, and he's willing to do that in PR services, even if it gets him personally some bad press in the process. So I respected that. And then finally, John Stamel at Omiji. He's had a long, very successful career managing and growing agencies, and he recently launched a tech platform at Omiji focused on using the Net Promoter Score and artificial intelligence to determine what customers are really thinking about your products and services, and partnering with other agencies to deploy this solution for the end clients. Um, and speaking of partnering with agencies, that brings me back to the podcast and our purpose with the podcast. Longer term, it may well end up being more than just a podcast. I've heard from many owners that they don't feel like they have a peer community to support them when it comes to business management and financial management. There may be some groups that are focused on marketing technology, and I did a webinar with marketingops.com. Um, but there seems to be a shortage of good quality peer groups that help with managing the business, the operational and finance side of it. So it's an idea I'm exploring. I did it with IT services 20 years ago, where we met quarterly. We shared financial reports and metrics. We had guided discussions around key business topics like hiring, pricing, client retention, et cetera. And it was really valuable. We were IT MSP owners from around the country. There may have been a little competitive overlap, but we didn't really care about that. We were really into sharing information, benchmarking against each other, and collaborating. That was far more valuable than any competitive concerns that we had. So I've heard from you too. You kind of like this idea. So stay tuned. I might have something to offer there at some point in 2026. So I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in to this episode in the middle of the holiday season. We're almost into the new year in 2026. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask listeners to make sure they have a financial plan in place for 2026. If you haven't done that already, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Doesn't have to be a big budget or financial model and a huge spreadsheet. Yes, that would be nice, and some firms need that and want that. But it can be as simple as just a few key metrics and targets that you track on a monthly basis that let you compare actual performance against your objectives as the business owner. In my book, The Financial Operating System for Marketing Agencies, goes into more detail on the best practices I've developed and refined over the years for financially managing firms. You can download a free copy from smartbooks.com and the resources page there. You can buy it on Amazon, or just drop me a note directly, and I'd be happy to mail you a free copy in the mail the old-fashioned way. So thank you for all your support. I hope I've delivered and will continue to deliver value to you during our weekly episodes. And I wish you all the best as we close out 2025 and gear up to start the new year. Another episode in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. For show notes and more, please visit marketingagencypowerhour.com. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, providing marketing agencies with bookkeeping, accounting, and finance support. With SmartBooks, you gain the clarity and confidence to make your agency a success. Until next time,